Please. Let's talk about a team that's really got everything together, that has been thriving this season, that has had no hiccups, no issues along the way. The Calgary Flames.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Who you just got to see. Were you in the building for the game?
I was in the
or
building for the game on Saturday, and
oh, Friday.
Friday, excuse me. I'm so used to watching games on Saturday. It seems odd that. Anyway, I just can't escape how off the vibes are with the Calgary Flames.
Yeah.
Like, I was stunned by what I was seeing in so many respects. Now, they're without Chris Tanev.
Mm-hmm. And he's really like a glue
key
guy for everything. He brings everything together.
But, I'm watching them, and technically they play brilliant hockey.
Right.
I think.
Well,
I mean
from like a possession perspective? Yes.
In terms of like the way they deactivate.
Yeah.
And the way they control the puck and their positional game, I feel like it's excellent. And then, 2.5 minutes of dynamic possession results in like 3 perimeter shots and nothing dangerous.
Yeah.
And I can't tell how much of it is the problem. I can't tell how much of it is like they get the first chance, but they just don't quite get to the rebound that would have been like a really good chance.
Yeah.
But it keeps happening, and it's kept happening for 75 games. Like, at some point, they're not doing enough to generate. And they're doing all sorts of weird stuff. Like, their power plays, PP1 and PP2 are both balanced units.
Yeah.
They have way too much things like Zadorov carries the puck a lot. But it's like Jonathan Huberdeau's on the ice.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure if we talked about this on the podcast or just in our free time when we were having a beer or something off the record, but we were joking about how Zadorov, like, if you went back and you showed someone like even 10 years ago, like clips of how Nikita Zadorov plays right now, which is like an encapsulation of how defensemen in the NHL play, right?
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this guy must be like the best offensive defenseman in the world, right? Like, just like the habits of like the activation and how like he roams sometimes in the offensive zone, when in reality he's Nikita Zadorov.
I love watching him play. That was like one of my favorite parts of the game. I was losing it watching Nikita Zadorov. He was all over the puck. But it's good for Zadorov. I don't know that it's good for the Flames, right? And that's sort of it feels like this is a really good, well-built team that's really bad at assessing the value of the shots they take in real time. And I can't escape that. And then on top of it, I'm watching them and I'm just like, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Canucks. I know I'm not supposed to do Canucks talk, but it reminds me of the Canucks late in the Travis Green era, where it's like positionally they were doing a lot of the right stuff, but they just don't have the extra 5%.
They don't have the talent though. I don't think we can say that it's a philosophical thing, because last year we saw them play.
I genuinely,
because they had the players.
That's definitely part of it, but I also don't think they're getting as much out of this. Like, this group just looks like they don't want to compete as hard as they can and should, given their circumstance, which is the nicest way that I can say they look like a team that's tuned out their coach.
I mean, their game last night against the Ducks was like the perfect embodiment of their entire season.
I'm worried that they've lost Markstrom now. Like, you best ride Vladar now, I think, because you can't expect Markstrom, having pulled him in that circumstance with your season on the line, having shown him that you don't trust him. I don't think you can expect him to be close to his best. That's not how it works. Like, you can't.
Well, he's been horrible this season.
I get it, but they've also been handling him with kid gloves and showing him symbolically, like from the first start that they skipped on him in against the Oilers. They've been showing him, like, we're scarred from how you sucked in the playoffs last year. Like, they haven't treated him like the guy, and his game has regressed. That's not how they got the best out of him in Vancouver. He was the guy. If you struggle, we'll struggle with you. You're who we're going down with the ship with.
Yeah.
And they've done the complete opposite in Calgary. I don't think you can expect to get the best of him going forward here. You might as well roll Vladar, call up Dustin Wolf, and just be like, okay, we'll try it again next season. Like, I legitimately don't think, having done what they did to Markstrom on Sunday against Anaheim, that they can expect him to just like have a bounce back performance.
I mean, for the year, the tandem of the two of them is 28th in save percentage.
Yeah, it's bad.
Minus 36.2 goals saved above expected, which, now that the Kings have sorted their stuff out with Korpisalo, I think is probably the worst in the league.
Yeah, Korpisalo looks great.
So here's the thing. I have Kevin Woodley on tomorrow on the program.
Okay, so
I'll save that for then. But the reason why I brought up perfect encapsulation, they wind up finishing the game out shooting the Ducks and at home, 41-22.
Yeah.
And still, they're like fighting tooth and nail, right? They go
They
down
need
2-0.
They need like a bit of a fluky Mark Stone goal.
Well, they go down 2-0.
Mark Stone. Sorry.
I wish they had Mark Stone. 2-0. They score 3 straight goals in 8 minutes. And you're like, all right, the momentum, right, if that's a thing in hockey, is shifted. Within the next minute, they give up a goal again.
Which is exactly what happened against Vancouver.
Yeah.
Where they give up the goal to Beauvillier from Niels Oman. Like, if you're getting burnt off the rush by Niels Oman, 30 seconds after you fight tooth and nail to tie the game, like, that's what I'm saying, man. That's self-sabotage stuff that only really happens when your vibes are way, way off.
Well, they are. I mean, at the same time, though, last year, Daryl Sutter, like, decisively won the Jack Adams, and I don't think anyone I don't think anyone disagreed with it. I thought he did the best job.
I'm 5 months ago, I would have told you I think Daryl Sutter is the best coach in hockey, bar none.
Tactically.
Best coach in hockey, period.
Wow.
The guy I trust the most to have like a massive impact on how a team plays 5-on-5 in a way that results in wins.
But you would have said, the reason why I'm differentiating, because you would have said tactically, but maybe from a longevity and a communication perspective.
A man management perspective,
yes.
Sure. Yeah, no, but I thought, veteran team that actually, continued to get older, I thought this would be like a pretty good group for him. Obviously, it hasn't turned out.
But there's there's coaching when things are going well, and last year in the regular season, it was about as well as it could go, right? And obviously in the playoffs, they ran into hurdles. Yep. They barely got over the one in round 1 against Dallas, and then they got embarrassed by the Oilers. This year, when issues arise, I think that takes a different type of coach or a different coaching.
Well, everything that could have gone wrong for them has.
It has, right? But then at that point, you need like a certain level of communication and relationships with players, I think, to manage that. I don't think you can just keep like plowing ahead the way you have. And that's kind of like, that's why their offensive approach this year is a perfect sort of embodiment of everything. It's just like, no matter what, they haven't changed it at all. They keep doing the exact same thing over and over again.
Well, also the personality types of their best players and thus the people leading you has changed pretty significantly. Now, on the one hand, you've got Toffoli, who's super familiar with Daryl, right? There's no surprises.
And he's been really good.
He was unreal but he's always unreal at Rogers Arena.
He saved them, yeah.
He did. But like you lose Tkachuk, and I just feel like, from what I understand, you can give Tkachuk tough love. You can give him whatever. He's just Tkachuk, right? And Johnny Gaudreau, who I don't have a very good sense of as a person. But I do think that there's a lot of Calgary Flames players that, for example, Huberdeau and Weegar, two guys I know a little bit better, who like were at their best when they had, Brunette and Joel Quenneville, who are like all man management guys, right? Like that's really what they do. They build people up.
Right.
And, I think Markstrom's a similar personality type. I don't know if the way that this roster is built in terms of the personality of the players meshes well with Daryl's style.
There's still 5 games left in the season for them. I think they're only they're 2 points back.
But it's the back-to-back that's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
That's a really tough game for them.
And the game is at Winnipeg.
Yeah. I can't wait, by the way.
It's going to be awesome.
So excited.
And then they also have a game against Nashville and 3 games against teams that are already eliminated, right?
But and it's Chicago first. Chicago.
They play the Sharks and I think the Canucks one more time, right?
They play the Canucks on the weekend.
Dom has them at like just 28% playoff probability. I think Money Puck has them higher because their underlying numbers are still like if you just look at the data, you're like, all right, it's pretty clear that they're the superior team and they're only 2 points back and they have a game against that team. But the issue is that I think we've spent these first 10 minutes talking that I think you need to peel back a few of those layers. You can't just necessarily go, they keep out shooting teams, therefore they're better.
I think the problem for the Flames is they're going to be favored in 4 of their remaining 5 games. But that 5th game that they're going to be underdogs is a 4-point swing against the team they have to beat out. And so I think that's why Dom's model reacts or weights them in that manner.
Them being favored also should carry no significance.
Right.
Like we just talked about how they barely squeaked out a victory at home against the Ducks, who are the worst team since 2007.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, man. I honestly I can't figure it out because even watching them, there's so many players I like, and with the exception of Huberdeau, they're not playing badly individually.